Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's CashFlow Digital, where McSwifty is back again, and myself. We don't have B-Rads, Big Bad Brad. We did say he was going to be back this week, but unfortunately, he has his
jury duty calls.
Yeah, jury duty calls, so we can't even force him on jury duty calls for him. So
I said, Brad, I would just not go, and he said I would be too nervous.
And I don't know what the rules are like over there, but your police and your government don't fuck around, man. So, yeah, it's probably best to go and get it over and done with. But
yeah, no, they'll throw a bench warrant out for you, depending. I mean, I've never seen it happen, to be honest. Like, I have not gone. I never had an issue, but it's probably not good advice, dude. I'm not an attorney.
No, definitely. Don't listen to Mike on this. Listen to him and all this other weird ass shit, Mininets and all that stuff.
What's up, Holly?
But yeah, don't listen to him on that. But before we go into anything, check out odys.cc for £100 free bonus for done for you affiliate websites and age domains. So check them out.
I got a story for Odys today, a cool one. I got a student who paid a very reasonable rate to get 105,000 words and a domain written and put up for him. And he hasn't done any SEO yet, and he's converting like 4 or 5. I don't know if it's every day or every few days. He's like 4 or 5 conversions or every week. But it's converting just by default. This is the site that Odys put up without any SEO, and the guy knows his SEO. It's making him money right now. I mean, it's not returning yet because it's brand new, but it's making money. It's bringing money in. And what I will say is, I mean, I've been around Alex for years now, and those guys know SEO. Like, they're people that I've talked to about SEO for years. So we just got to give them a little shout out today because that came up this past week in that. And the nice question that Ricky had right there about, does Brad still use the Mininet method in 2021? And yeah, we absolutely still make our money with Mininets. And essentially what Odys builds was what I would call, either, depending on how large you go, a Mininet site or a large site. But everything in that is treated like a money site anyway. So I don't think there's a better way to do SEO personally than a PBN or a Mininet.
I mean, yeah. My favorite type of thing, that's one of my most favorite things, is just finding good domain names and building PBNs or Mininets or whatever you want to call them, has always been and always probably will be something that I just thoroughly enjoy. I hate the rest of it, all this other stuff, keyword research and stuff. It has to be done, but I thoroughly enjoy. I don't know, I get a cheap thrill out of building a PBN. I don't know if it's just me that's kind of sick that way.
There's something really cool about having something that's going to make you money and being able to insert shit everywhere all over the internet. And that's what PBNs, Mininets do in my eyes, is that, like, in the customer journey, dude, you can create a website about the information process and info intent, right? Then you can have another website about transactional and commercial website. Like, you can have all these different websites. Like BigCommerce does a great thing for people that want to build Mininets in the e-commerce space. Like, we've done this in the past where you have an API and you can use the same database to drive hundreds of websites with BigCommerce, right? And so you literally are just pulling product out of the same location in the same account, and you're just paying for transfer. But now you've got, say 50 e-commerce websites that are targeting transactional queries, and underneath that you have like commercial and informational sites down there, and then you've got a major brand that's taking care of quality score and navigational intent and shit like that. So even major brands like still come to certain things I'm involved with and ask for this type of marketing, right? Because context is fucking king, dude. Not content. Context is king in 2021. Like, straight up, you need to be there wherever that person is in their journey. If they're coming from Facebook, you should be delivering content that, and your website should know that this person is coming from Facebook. And that's how you start to convert shit really nicely. And the Mininet's really good for that, you know? Have you used, like, do you remarket, Craig? Do you like do retargeting and shit?
Yeah. Not heavily aggressively, but I think you've said it time and time again. Use the pixel, do this, do that. Now, where I think a lot of people don't understand, or they may think you're just saying, "Oh, pixel, pixel, pixel." People don't understand that data and retargeting people who've already been in your website is the way forward. Why would you want to get cold people onto your website who may or may not be interested? So, 100%, setting up a Facebook pixel, taking advantage of people who've, been there, and understand what it is you've got to offer, and softly targeting them is certainly something that I would do, in terms of promoting blogs, podcasts, whatever it is. I don't have anything really to sell, so I'm not that aggressive. So there's not an underlying aggressive strategy with it. But of course, why would I retarget to people who don't know what I do or who don't know what I'm about? Makes no sense. I want to just get more of those guys who are interested onto, whether it's my YouTube or wherever I'm trying to drive them to. So it makes 100% sense to do that.
If you would pay, I kind of look at it like this. If you would pay for display advertising or pay for any sort of advertising on multiple websites to convert something, to me, there's a reason to create categorical websites so that you can start building lists like that and start marketing like it's paid. And it facilitates almost every part of SEO. I mean, realistically, like once you have that shit, it's basically everything that you can do for SEO. And if you set it up and you're safe and correct and you're using something like microhost, where it's just dead simple and easy, why not do it? If you have the keyword research done already, you know what websites you need. I mean, you have a website. Yeah.
The way I look at it is, Mike, you said it before, like you use these websites to collect that data, and the more data you've got, the more powerful you become. Essentially, that's where you can start to be in control of what traffic goes where and push it to wherever you want it to be. And obviously you've got to invest in that data, from the get-go, whether that's you making blogs or whether you're doing whatever to push content out. But it's there's a process to it. And I think, the more data you've got and the more targeted you can become, the better everything is for you and easier. But for someone like you who's probably got access to people's pixels, I don't know what the fuck you've got, but you make it sound easier, and it's because you've got that data is easy. And that's where I think a lot of people just don't wake up and smell the coffee. They are doing certain things, and spending a lot of money on marketing, but they're not collecting that data and don't have pixels and stuff like that set up. It's just ludicrous. It's madness not to.
Well, it's interesting because when you start to look at it, I think I got lucky. I was talking to someone about this. The way I started, got into SEO and then started working with people that were working with major brands. I saw media buying really early in my internet marketing career, and realized that data, pixel peeker, dude, and realized that data was fucking important. So we've run campaigns for rehab where I'm selling emails to someone for 50 cents an email, and they're marketing a Disney vacation, right? So once you start collecting data, there's money all over the shit you have, right? It's not just about the marketing end, it's also about revenue collection. And once you start tracking and collecting everything, then you can sell every piece of that. You can sell phone numbers, you can sell this based on your laws. Don't go out and break laws and do this kind of shit. Follow what you're doing, collect the data legally, and you have money opportunity there. That people don't think about when you're running an SEO campaign, or we did a campaign for on Amazon for I forget. We'll take the candles. So we did candles for men, and that data also was being sold as line items. So it's coming in. It ranks in Google, comes in, fires a pixel for multiple places, and then collects a lead, and then it also, depending on that decision right there, it either collects the lead or it shoots it off into a video for a view, or it shoots it off to a website, right? And then you can start selling that shit. And so I think motivation should always be the revenue return. And if it makes sense for money, it makes sense to pay attention to, I think. So I would recommend it.
I've got a question for you on that. I'm just going to flip this conversation on its head. Now, obviously, you're saying data is key. You can sell phone numbers and all that stuff. if someone in the audience said to you today, Mike, I've got, I don't know, a beauty therapy email list, it's 10,000 people on it. We've got all the emails, phone numbers, and everything else. Would you buy it? And do you believe you could still buy a cold list like that and monetize it?
I probably would ask to advertise. I probably ask to kind of I wouldn't pay for it myself. No, I know people that would buy that data though. Yes. And that's not me though. So yeah. I would try to facilitate the buy and take a few cents on each record, dude. I mean, realistically, I'd try to middleman that deal. Yeah. Because that's the best money off of it for me. I personally believe. So
I was just curious to know if you would just buy data from someone else. I've always been the guy who would rather build my own list and build my own data on.
We've done co-reg a lot, and co-reg is basically offers where your co-registration, you're getting data with other people. Let's take it that way. And then you're mailing that data, and it's okay. It's not the best data. The best data is data that you have control over, that you've seen come in, and that you've controlled how it's built. Meaning like we talked about in the freaking Mininet example, I got a website about informational stuff, and I know everyone on that list has seen my brand at least once. Well, now I can start marketing to that differently. It's like for your channel, dude, like your conversions are your subscriptions. And every time they see you, you're getting closer to a subscription. You're building trust, and they, even if they just see you, say you're doing a webinar with SEM Rush or something like that, and then you pop up over there through whatever they're doing through Pixels, you pop up over there, they see you, they see the webinar, they're looking at SEO, they see your name, potentially clicking through to you rather than someone else because they've already seen your name elsewhere and somewhere they trust, So a lot of theory around Mininet stuff, that there's a lot of ways to build it. There's best practices, but there's a lot of like concepts you can use to do it, I think. So there's a question for you, Craig, it looks like at the very bottom there.
So to answer this one, what was your conclusion to the CTR manipulation test yesterday? Who did well? Was there anything you learnt? So, Mike, if you didn't see this, there was a bit of a thing going on. A guy called William Jones popped up on position 1 for the word CTR manipulation in YouTube. Then he was like, yeah, I beat Craig, I beat Chris Palmer and all that stuff. So we then upped our game, beat them, and then they came back and beat us and all that stuff. So what has been learned, or what the conclusion was, is that it would be an ongoing fight. Whoever sends the most traffic, proper traffic and all that kind of stuff, and gets the retention time and everything else, is likely to win the race. There is no one doing anything special here. And I put up a post last night saying, like, I've shown that I have ranked, they've beat me, and I've come back and ranked and beat them. But the conclusion is whoever's stupid enough to waste the most time on that is going to be the winner. And I do not make money from ranking for CTR.
No, you can see it in the way you've been naming the videos for the channel. And it's a time-based element. It's a volume-based element. It's like the guys that I know that do a lot of YouTube, that, I do some YouTube, but when everyone was rapping on dwell time, I mean, obviously you're looking, there's things that people are missing when they focus on certain things, is what I'm going to say. And essentially, I think a lot of people miss the boat on what's possible with YouTube. But like you said, man, like, what's the point unless you're getting paid for it, dude?
Exactly. Well, look, Holly's argument along the whole thing is, it's all good and well going for CTR manipulation, but do the same thing for something like weight loss or SEO or something where there potentially is going to be consultancy or gigs or whatever you're going to be offering for a nothing keyword that literally gets no search volume. It's a crazy ass fight. So I am out of that fight. I'm not going to keep it going. I've got better things to do and money to make on that. But nothing really too much to be learned, to be honest. It was just a bit of fun. And, people will win and people can go away now and boast and say, yeah, this works. Like, there's no special way of doing CTR manipulation. Loads of people can do it different ways. And that's it.
Well, we know this works, right? We know that they've been, I started testing CTR with Josh Baczynski like freaking in 2014, right? And I've seen it working for a long time. I think what I would rather watch trends in like you said, queries that mean something, like where there's volume and money, and watch what happens with the trends when it comes to like fucking video release, site size, different sizes, like understanding the difference between when a CTR should be high and when a CTR actually is better to be low. Like this is the kind of shit you need to understand when you're marketing on something like YouTube, is like, your CTR might be too high in some cases because of the way they're delivering your content, and you need it to be a little bit lower. Like it should drop off. If you're not seeing it drop off once you release something, it means that you're not fucking getting distributed to your fucking subscribers, essentially. So there's more to it, I think, than what you can just see, just observing that there, you know. But that's opinion, I guess.
Yeah. Anyway, Mark Rolls is asking, so just keeping on the YouTube trend, when you start a YouTube channel and you have 0 followers, how do you decide on what to talk about for a first video if it was an SEO channel? Where would you start, Mike?
If you're looking for actual topics, I would literally just go find a freaking guide for basic SEO, depending on what your demographic is. If you're targeting basic, you know, people coming into the industry, people coming that have been in the industry for a while, or expert SEO, like you just have to make that decision, man. So if you haven't decided on your demographic, you're premature, right? And I would not recommend going after everybody and their mother. I would focus the first thing you do to a specific demographic and work on that. That's my opinion.
I think that makes sense. You know, for me, my audience is very mixed. I've got a whole load of newbies to the industry, but I do have some experienced people, and I basically used that kind of spray and pray approach, and I should have potentially angled in a bit more specific. You know, you see people like, I don't know, Clint Butler for whatever, for example, using Clint as an example, people who watch Clint are probably medium to advanced level SEOs, I would say. That is probably where he's at and where he's positioned himself. Of course, some rookies will watch him, but he doesn't talk about rookie stuff that much. His is a lot more in depth. So that's where you need to figure out what part of the industry you want to try and grab. And guys like you as well, Mike, you and Brad, you don't talk normal basic SEO stuff. You know, the stuff that comes out of your mouth is too technical for a lot of those rookies. I've had countless, and this is a God's honest truth, Mark, countless amounts of people who say, I love Brad and Mike, but it's very, very confusing what they're talking about. Like, I don't even know what they're saying, you know, what these things mean, and you know, the way they talk, and sometimes the way they, you know, the things that they're
doing. Esoteric as shit, dude. It's definitely esoteric, and that's why you have to make a decision realistically. Like, I think that there's ways to deliver content. You can do it, I mean, if you want to. It's dependent upon where you want to hit. And Craig, I think, has done a really good job with the spread that he's done. Like, he's been able to leverage relationships and bring people on in different aspects of different parts of SEO and build a channel that's really freaking effective for delivering information. So, but Craig speaks across the world, and Craig has met a lot of people. So Craig's been able to do that shit, right? So if you don't have that, it's definitely a decision based on like your network and who you know, and again, who you want to target. I wouldn't do it like Craig personally, because it takes a lot of fucking relationship. Like, if you're new, I wouldn't do it like Craig, because it's a lot of relationship to rely on, dude.
Yeah, that's it. Like, I've met Mike and stuff in person, so it's easier to get people on board, or any of the other people I've had in my podcast, Holly, Clint, and all that stuff. So yeah, build relationships as well, Mark. It does help massively. Animal Nerds has a question. If a .it domain has 23% of links from .fr websites, do you think it may rank outside the French market? The original domain was in French, and I would repurpose it, changing the language, not English. So
yeah, I wouldn't care about the link percentage of where it's from at all, personally. You're going for the relevance and the intent that you're building for the site. So I mean, yeah, it would, in my opinion.
Interesting. Yaniv, CTR versus Mininets. Which is more important for ranking Or is it a case that Mininet gets you into position in the SERPs where CTR becomes relevant?
CTR is relevant whenever you're in the SERPs. So like you can't, it's like you talking to someone last week and showing them, look, you tell me you're ranked here, I can go look at that and I don't see you ranked. So just because you're not seeing yourself in a certain place, like you're getting tested, and if they're not clicking and they're not showing good metrics, then you're having problems, man. It's just not, they're combined. They don't separate in my head.
Yeah, what Mike says, there's not much else I can add to that.
I guess, I'm sorry, Craig, you want to move on, or I want to help you. Individual pages, I mean, CTR you can't do without having the pages, right? So just takes the Mininet thing out and just call it like content and links and ranking, and don't think about the specific tactic. I think people get too hung up on individual tactics instead of strategy. And think about the strategy overall. Like, is CTR a strategy? Can you go make money with just CTR?
No.
Can you go make money with a website, with a network of websites? So like, just think about it like a strategy versus tactics versus gimmicks. Like I categorize everything as like, it's a gimmick, it's a tactic, it's a strategy, and it goes on to other levels above that. But really, like a gimmick is, I know how to verify a GMB, or I found this hole in the search engine. And if I do this like this right now, then I can rank instantly, but it's going to go away in a week. That's a gimmick. And then a tactic is like CTR. Like that's a real thing. That's a tactic and part of a strategy, right? And then building a network of sites can be part of a strategy, but it also can be a tactic. So I guess it kind of depends on the high level picture of the campaign too. But CTR is not a strategy.
Yeah.
What's up, Chase?
Chase again. Oh snap, the CTR Kings. Chase, thank you very much for the donation. And also, Chase,
I finally can get some food, dude.
Chase needs to join in the fun as well. Chase was like, I want to join in this CTR manipulation. I'm like, go for it, man. Yeah, he's a good guy. But Holly was also on there last night, but Holly took her video back offline. I think people were asking her about her certain things that she does to rank YouTube videos, and probably told too much, but I'm assuming that's why it went down. But yeah, we won with very little effort. Anyone can win that game, though. It's just a game of numbers. Hello to Carol. Hello to Liam Quirk. As Holly says, though, spending 3 days on arguing who's the best is not a good way to make money. We need to be focusing more on things that make us money. And as Clint also cleverly says, she didn't want it in the wild until she sells her next course on it. But Dean Davis is asking, is SEO getting harder or more saturated in your opinion, Mike?
No. It's getting more saturated. It's always getting more saturated. I've seen people come and go for years. There was a program called Blogger Generator in like 2010. I think is when 2010, roughly like 2010. So when I was just doing I was just doing a lot of CTR manipulation at that point. That's what's fucking funny, dude. Like literally all my money was CTR manipulation in a very different way, but it was CTR manipulation. I had a freaking rack of like 12 IBM Think Centers in my daughter's closet, dude, on a KVM switch, just out there botting everything, dude. And it was that was 2 years worth of income. I'm just sitting there doing nothing for a while. It was pretty funny, but at the same time, like you saw people jump ship to Amazon because of different algorithms that came up. Like it gets harder. Like more people come in. A lot of people never stay. They stick in. They do the SEO agency thing. They bounce out, and then you'll see a whole bunch of people drop off in like another 3 or 4 years. And they just, as you stick around longer and longer, you'll just see those trends. And I kind of see it like happening the same way going forward. If you want to make money doing SEO, you can make money doing SEO. Just need to be smart about it at this point. It's harder than it was when I started, I think, to get started. Do you think it's harder than when you started, Craig?
It's definitely harder. There's more to it than back in the day. Definitely. But what I would say is obviously it's more saturated, but I have never, I would say that, and this is going to be a weird statement, but the SEO world is actually getting smaller and smaller in terms of the real SEOs, the people that I know. I could probably count, but not in my hands, but genuinely, I know of about maybe 30 or 40 people across the world that I truly believe know what they're doing. Genuinely. I know there's millions of people that do SEO and they're good at link building and they're good at this and good at that. But for me to use my own cash and give it to certain people, there's probably, about 30 people I would say, man, I'm giving you my own hard cash.
Very rare would I would ever do that. There's people I'll do that to, but yeah, it's hard to find them, dude, for sure.
It's as I say, a lot of people are becoming very more. So here's the thing. I would say, Mike, you're probably very like me. You've got quite a broad range of skills. You do a bit of this, you do a bit of that. I think people now coming into the industry are very good at one little thing and they focus on that. And there's nothing at all wrong with that, but they don't have a broad range of skills. Whereas people like us who have broad knowledge can, I don't know, just pack a better punch, to be honest.
Well, I think we had to come in and absolutely learn this shit and do all of it ourselves. I didn't have any money when I started this shit at all,
yeah,
dude.
I'm the same.
I had no money, and I had enough money to get some domains going and then figure this shit the fuck out, dude. And it goes into that question down there. If I was starting SEO again, what would you go into? Client work, affiliate, rank and rent. For me, like my answer, because of where I came from, was, dude, I'm going to sell a dude a Flash logo and learn how to write freaking Flash, dude. Like, I'm going to sell everything that I can. And that's how I gained my skills, was by selling everything and its mother to anyone I could find while working affiliate and trying to make money off of AdSense at the same time, right? I worked an unhealthy amount, but, it is what it is. This is a good question, though. What's your answer to this? Do you have something you say focus on?
Yeah, listen, I can't say don't do it. I'd rather be me though with broad knowledge overall. But I've seen guys like Gary who have come into the industry, over the last 3 or 4 years and really focused on something like the link building thing, and he's made a fuck ton of money. So Gary, by his own admission, probably would admit that on page is not his major strong point. Of course, he's a clever guy and he knows on page, but he really did focus down on the link building side of things and really get stuck into that. And I know loads of other people in this industry who focus on very specific skills, and there's nothing at all wrong with that. You can make a lot of money, but I would much rather try. Like for me, I would rather be able to do link building, reputation management, get involved in PBNs and understand how all this whole thing works, and also try out YouTube. I'm by no means an expert in YouTube SEO, but that's next. That's something I'm trying to develop and become better at. So I like to do that and have a broader range of skills. And I'd like to consider myself more of a marketer now than just an SEO guy, and that's what I want to do. I don't, I see guys like Chase, for example, Chase Rayner. A lot of people dislike Chase and all that kind of stuff, and he laughs at it. He is a very, very clever guy and a marketer. That is
sexy too.
Yeah, he's a good-looking guy. So Chase is what I would define as a marketer more than a specialized guy, and
Craig's being nice, and he's not calling anyone a hustler right now. But here's the thing. This is what I've kind of seen, and this is my opinion. I can't say it's real. People that collect skills become entrepreneurs, and people that go to college and become an expert typically work for those people. And it's what I've seen in my career. And that doesn't mean that people don't break that mold, but to be able to go out and not only hire the right people and understand what's going on, you need to understand all of this shit. And also, like, if Brad and I specialized in individual shit, we couldn't walk into a boardroom with fucking presidents of companies and sell $200,000 a month campaigns to these people for shit they've never heard about before. Like, literally, if we didn't have this broad range of like, I've done this, I've done that, I've done this, and that, and I've turned it into a system, and the system is key, then you can't go outside the box, and you're a dime a dozen. And I hate to say it that way, but if you're just another SEO, then you're just another SEO. I don't even, whenever I've talked to someone about SEO in the last 4 years, I don't mention SEO. I mention I will make the money you are making and spending right now, make you 20% more for your business, right? I don't walk in there as an SEO. I walk in there as someone who's going to make them money. And that's because we fucking look for every angle where they're making bad decisions, and then we solve those problems. And if you want to do agency, which I don't like doing agency, we take it when there's like large volume there, and we do white label for people. But if you want to do agency and you want to do large scale contracts where you're negotiating for 6 months to close the shit, and you're making $1 million plus a year on the contract, then you need to do more than just, I build links and I write content. And that's really what it comes down to. You need to be that's why marketing firms get those things, is because they have departments. It's rare for an individual to walk in and get that shit, It comes down to relationship, back to relationship like Craig has. The only way we ever get our foot in the door to actually sell that shit is through relationship, Yeah. So I think it's really important to build a big skill set. For monetization, I would really just say, do not lock yourself into any individual type of monetization for that question. If you just say, I'm going to just focus on affiliate, then you're closing your eyes to the fact that you can use your affiliate sites to do SEO for a client. And just keep your mind open to how you can make money with what you're doing, and make every dollar count that you spend, and every dollar that you bring in maximized by doing that, I think is the best way to go. But I don't know.
We do have a question for you, Mike, from Holly. Do you do syndication, and can you overdo that technique? Like,
you absolutely can overdo it, and yeah, we do a lot of syndication. I've done it through utilizing other people's feeds, utilizing other people's contents on a very large scale to the tune of millions of pages per site. I've been penalized for that. So yeah, you can overdo the receiving end of it, and for the distribution end, depending on how you do it and the order you do it in, you absolutely can fuck yourself up. Not so much anymore as a few years ago, in my opinion, but I saw a lot of people, when a certain group was teaching a one-ring system, just tank their websites, because the first thing they ever did was take their feed, go out and build all these properties, and then use a bot to submit their feed into all this junk. And it just turned into a bunch of trash that was out there with no authority, right? I've been in situations where we have to literally write time delays and scrape Google and see, okay, is my content in Google yet? Yes. Okay, now I'll release that to my feed, because we'd had people taking our content that was that were way more authoritative than us, and they would actually get yes, I'll get to that. And so these people would take our content from our feed and outrank us. So we had to make changes to certain things that we do. And for syndication and Mininet, everything that we do is tied to syndication. So we try to take our Mininets into every level that we can. So like the last major one that we built of over 3,000 sites a year and a half ago was built in a way to actually maximize on IFTTT, or we didn't use that, but similar to that, so that we can publish and distribute, then also maximize with GMB as well, and putting GMB on every one of those sites as well, right? Yeah, so if you want to pull up digital tiers thing too, and so we've never used the model that people use direct to site. We've typically always used syndication in a way where we take a keystone. So a lot of the times that would be Twitter or Delicious. When the data hub was around, we'd make decisions based on what sites Google's collecting data from and trusting. And that would be our tier point or our keystone. So the content would go from the website into the keystone, and then syndicate that out, so that there's a level and a tier that you're building with your syndication. We do not flat syndicate content out there like what that Clint was suggesting that he's been seeing it hurting sites. That is not a good way to go, and we haven't done that for years upon years. To be very clear, there's a smart way, in my opinion, to syndicate, and that is taking your link building strategies and doing the same thing with your syndication, just like you would with anything else. There's always tiers of this. Yeah, we buffer all the time. And I do it with my link building as well. I do it with my 301s a lot of the time as well too. So buffering and tiers are the way to go, in my opinion. Have you do much syndication ever, Craig? Or
I've dabbled in IFTTT and stuff like that, but to be honest, I've never been a big believer in doing that in any kind of great aggressive way. to be honest.
We don't do it for ranking. We do it to establish the business entity is why we do it. Like that's literally the only reason. When I'm in a larger site and we're publishing, we do it for branding. I mean, there's ways to do this so that if you have questions, Holly, just Skype me. Like we've got systems for it all over the place. So just ask, just PM me sometime.
Yes, and also we have a little question that I just need to go back to from Live IRL Fan. So, Mike, can you explain what a Mininet is for a YouTube normie like Live IRL Fan?
So, if you have like, we'll take it like it's a playlist, right? So, say you're doing HVLP guns, right, and painting cars, painting bikes, painting houses, whatever. You've got your YouTube channel about painting, right? Painting miniatures, dude. That's the best kind. But yeah, you've got your playlist set up, right? They call them silos, categories, whatever the hell you want to call them, right? You got your playlist of videos. Well, then a Mininet's going to have a website for houses, and you're going to put those videos on that Mininet. It's going to have a website or more than one website for painting cars or just cars, and you're going to put that on there. That website could actually be about like a particular brand of vehicle and how cool it is. It doesn't necessarily have to be about painting, but it's topically relevant to that playlist because it's about cars, right? So it's relevance, man, is really what it comes down to. It's building a network of websites that are broken down in the same category structure as either your website or your YouTube channel, whatever. And so like you're just extending this off the website is all you're doing.
Do you guys still have the Mininet training on Mininet?
Yeah, it's minionettraining.com is the one. And it's free. Like if you want to understand it, go in there. I think there's a link to Revenge of the Mininet in there. It kind of goes through like what I think everyone should read, which is Revenge of the Mininet. It's like seriously a relevance Bible.
Check it out. That's the website for that. And it is free, as Mike says. But Ricky is also asking a question. For a website that is brand new, what would be a good strategy for it to be ranked? Build citations, then build a Mininet pointing to the site and power up the mini sites with Web 2.0s, etc.
For me, dude, I honestly don't focus on local SEO anymore that much. Brad does it. So, Craig, I know you've done it more than me recently. You've tested more than me recently. So go for it, bro.
So, Ricky, the first thing is obviously the strategy. You know, you don't just go out and start building citations and Mininets and everything else. Make sure that you focus on the basics first. Get the website, the pages, the location pages or whatever you've got on there. Then build your citations and build that GMB asset up as well. You know, you can use something like SEObuilder.com who do good citations. There's loads of good citation guys out there. You can build a Mininet, but it depends locally. Do you need to go to the expense of a Mininet and all that kind of stuff and do that for the area that you're in? In most cases, in my opinion, for local SEO, you know, I'm going to be building citations, build a few guest blog posts, power up those guest blog posts, and probably 8 out of 10 times that's enough. You don't have to be that aggressive building Mininets and everything else unless you're in a really competitive area. If you're in New York or, you know, you have to follow what the competition are doing. And if they're all doing that, then of course you're going to have to then get more aggressive. But for me, local is all about citations, making sure you've got your kind of area pages on there and all that kind of stuff. Build some guest posts and power those guest posts up. Job done. There's not
That's
much.
exactly what I mean. I say I don't. When I do local right now, I stick it into a system that does basically what that shit is, man. And really, like we literally did 10 figures, and we didn't build a freaking single. The GMB in local for lead gen, especially, getting down to like the next question. We won't go there yet, but it's all about like the listing, man. The site at that point is like a kind of an add-on for other reasons, in my opinion. And it does help. Believe me, I can take a listing and throw it into a system, and it builds the guest post, whatever you want to call them. They're essentially edits, but they're through a system, and it will rank everything for the listing and for the map section. But I think the best thing to do is as little as possible. And if you're going after a large volume type of situation, you're going to rank and pull traffic and money with just putting up listings in a lot of cases. So do as little as you can until you need to do more.
That's it. You want to spend the least amount of time and money and effort on these things. Dean Davis is asking, though, is spinning pages and adding local information a tactic, making 50 pages for each keyword, Californians looking for X? So is spinning pages and adding local information something that you would do, Mike?
It's a tactic, yeah. It's definitely a tactic, and it'll make you money. I like to summarize a piece and then paraphrase it and then utilize it multiple times. There's ways to just regular spinners. I'm not a big fan of things that's just spin like on a low level. I'd rather do some stuff and utilize some of the patent shit out there or the algorithm, I should say. The patents aren't really what it is, but you absolutely can. I'd build it in a different way than that personally, though. We got to like a terabyte of traffic a day in 2019, the end of 2019, beginning of 2020. We were literally driving through this kind of shit, driving a terabyte of traffic in this campaign. And essentially, it's mashup that we used with some spinning and some paraphrasing and some summarizing, kind of all the same shit, just done with other things in mind. And then if you do that on top, create the pages, but then throwing in a lexicon of quality where it's giving quality signals through your content helps a lot with this kind of shit. But yeah, so I would put it at a tactic level, though, for sure. Not necessarily a whole strategy. It's a tactic.
Interesting. Going back to Scott G, for ranking rents or lead gens, do you always use legal contacts with the business you partner with?
Legal contracts or contacts? I'm assuming contracts is how I read it, but yeah, I won't do business without being protected at all.
You've been shit on before, though. There's a reason for that, right? You have literally been shit on before when you've done this and not had a contract, I would assume.
What's that? Yeah, I've been shit on many times, dude. I will never touch it. I've lost millions, dude. I've lost millions that way.
Yeah, I've lost a few quid taking people for their word and all that stuff. So absolutely get a contract in place, know what's going on, and do it that way. We have Yaniv asking a question for you, Mike. Would you buy a Mininet site with 3 highly relevant links with DR60 plus, but in Ahrefs, UR is low like 2.5 to 6? Or is
I wouldn't be paying attention to those numbers whatsoever. I'd be looking at what the backlinks are. And if they are backlinks that I need in that space, then it would make the decision on that.
And that's what Mike Stevenson also backed that up by saying, stop worrying about DR numbers and look at what makes up the DR number itself, looking at the backlinks and all that kind of stuff. So Mike Stevenson speaks a lot of sense. So good answer there.
Clint brings up a good point here, and it's important to point out that this is very true. I still wouldn't do it for a lot of reasons that I've seen in my campaigns. I would not go that route personally. It's a good way to lose sites, depending on what it also depends on, like, Clint could be building sites in a completely different way than me. Like, there's certain things that I do for certain reasons that can have people gain attention, or it can gain attention from people. And when you gain attention from people, you really want to make sure that you are covering all your bases. We gained attention from a major corporation in a market that came after us pretty hard, to the point where we had to change the business name. And at that point, I stopped doing certain things because they made it easier for people to figure things out. So templates can get you into trouble. In that case, what I would prefer you do than just like use a piece of content and spin it, like you were saying, is like literally just mash up a different piece of content for every page and insert that data, and just optimize your like optimization points, but not use the same template from a spinner. It just too much for that, but that's just personal experience.
Thank you, Rich Devman. Always a pleasure, buddy. But yeah, so we have Sewer Sep Warrior. So is duplicate content an issue really? After saying what you're saying and what Clint's saying and all that kind of stuff, how much of an issue is duplicate content? And basically, some agencies are making location pages that are mostly all the same, but just changing the location keywords for the city. So Clint's saying here that Google's been trained to understand that. Would you go deeper and change more of that, or?
It's not and I will say again, it's not to me about the algorithmic penalty. It's more about certain people that work for them. But for that question, I'm going to say that internal duplicate content is more of an issue in general than external, but Clint's going to disagree with me on that. So if Clint wants to toss his shit out, he can. But yes, you can absolutely. It's a great point. Services don't change. Typically, that is not a nationwide campaign, though. Like when I think of local, I think of local on an individual level in each state in a lot of areas. But local is typically more generalized than that, either at the zip or the county level, different areas like that, or a couple states. So I think it's going to depend on like what scale you're building at, really, when it comes down to how that treats you. I got my first. I need my second, man.
Fucking hell, I've not had any yet. Fingers crossed there is a way soon. We do. Someone who has had his jab because he's an old guy is Theo, who is Biz Tour. He's asking, what's your best advice for targeting a group of related key terms?
I'm interested if it's long tail or if it's related, like what people LSI, right? If it's long tail, just throw it in Excel and remove the duplicate words and put that onto the page. So you're covering all of your fragments of that right there. Your modifiers. If it's a group of like related terms that can support each other, I might look at a structure and a navigational structure that supports all of that, and then do what I just said on each individual page level.
Yes, do that, my man. And if you've got any other questions, Theo, because he was asking me questions offline, off of here earlier, fire them in here. But yeah, thank you, Rich Dev, man. Rich is back in the main. This dude used to be on here all the time. He then had major heart surgery, and that's him just back, fresh, working again. So good to see you back, Rich.
Dude, I got a content writer, my buddy. He's like 35, just had a freaking heart attack, dude. Jeez. And so be careful in this industry, folks, dude. I've seen it freaking knock a lot of people out pretty quick, dude.
Yeah, that's how I'm going back to the gym and getting into boxing, man. You've got to look after your health and get away from the fucking laptop, because it can be a killer. But Randy's on his second dose as well. Guys, if you do have other questions, we still got 12 minutes left. So
I've got so we were gonna go over and here, let me see if this will work. If I can pull this stock up. Basically, there was a question that came across that was someone building actually backlinks to their website with images. Images are actually a very important part of SEO, and I would pay attention, especially with like data that Craig shared on here, where he's had to deal with a disavow file and take action against backlinks. Image backlinks do not make them less of a important thing to pay attention to in both directions, like positively and negatively, in my opinion. So, right on, man.
We also have Clint coming back. When I was there, OTT was ranking top 3 for 450 plus city SEO terms with templates optimized for local search queries. But there is a point where a mass site, 8 million pages, that duplicate content is an issue. I love
it. It depends how you structure those optimization points, for sure, dude. Like, you're changing the data out enough and changing that and rotating it enough. I think that you'll be like, in a lot of cases, you'll be fine. It's just, I never recommend anyone go build that way from the beginning. That's just my thing. But well, we've all seen that. I'm not going to argue that at all.
I've got a mate who ranks for a fuck ton of stuff, and he's like the Clinton. I'm like, man, but you can do it better, and there's different ways to do it. So, yeah, it's whatever wins that particular niche is good. Just make some money. That's all I say.
Same.
Craig Mullins has got his first round of Monera last week. Knocked me out for a week. Headache. Felt like someone was shooting me in the head for 24 hours a day. Yeah. Oh, is that the name of the jag over there, Monera?
So they got Monera. Moderna, I think is what it is. And Pfizer. I got Pfizer. My wife got the same one as you, dude, and it kicked my ass. The people that I know that had COVID, like, it kind of kicked everyone's ass a little bit. But that's actually not a bad thing, bro, because that's your body responding. That's depending on if you think this is going to sterilize you or kill you, though, like where you subscribe to those conspiracy theories and shit. But got in a good argument about that. I got mine for specific reasons, but whatever. That's a good point, Clint. Whatever wins in a particular niche is what I'll do. If it makes more sense to do that and it's cheaper, I'll damn well do it. And that's where I would be at. If it's cheaper to do that, I would. Look who made it off of jury duty.
What's up, baby? I'm on lunch.
Oh, are you still there?
Yeah, they got all 12, and they've got to fill the alternate. They're like, well, we'll take a lunch. So we'll see you back in an hour and a half. So I'm in downtown Greensboro just chilling, waiting for my lobster roll.
You've been there since what time?
8.
That sucks, dude.
Yeah, I'm glad it wasn't raining because we had to stand outside for like an hour just getting into the
they're not going to fucking accept you to be on any sort.
I wouldn't think with my eyes, my general disposition towards people, but so
madness, absolute madness,
crazy. We had any good questions?
I think there was one up above. Craig's up there, maybe. I think we missed one.
No, wait a minute.
Hey, Craig, I saw you back at the top for CTR.
I meant Clint.
Manipulation or whatever.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
We talked about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe I was wrong, dude.
Here is one.
Oh, there we go. So 3 to 4K, have you noticed? And if so, how to determine which articles to split? This is literally all about your supporting and primary topics. And yes, if you break these apart, like if you start with a larger article and you start to break it out into different supports, you can actually do very well with exclusion of keywords on a page. So that's a big ass topic. Go to nfgseo.com/7. I think we might be discussing that shortly if you want.
I think it's going to come down to conversion as well. I mean,
it's going to be a lot about conversion.
If it supports the query and they don't bounce back, then you're going to get a boost.
And realistically, like right now we're typically delivering like 1,000 words to a client, but traditionally we stick to around 500 words and just buff up the lexicon and shit.
Yeah, you could stuff a lot in 500 words.
Oh, I definitely will not take a jab every year, dude, and my kids will not be getting a jab. That's for sure, dude.
Yeah, fuck that shit. Dan Randall is asking, what's the best way to manage your password for your PBNs? Where do you store your passwords?
I just make them all password.
This is not a question, dude. I go, hey, security guy, dude, do this shit. This is not a question for me.
Yeah.
LastPass.
Yeah, that works.
That's what I use, dude. I use Robo form.
A text file, sheepishly saying, but yeah. You just got to keep that hidden.
Years ago, when I had loads and loads and loads of PBNs, I used to have a black fucking book because you used to hear all these conspiracy theories. Google can read this and Google can see that. So I just had a black fucking book.
Just put them on Google Drive.
I will dispel that myth right now, though. I've seen millions of dollars made with fucking documents that are in Google Drive with passwords and sheets of websites for networks that make money. So even if they can read it, I've never seen them hit it. I know that I've seen it hit people, but literally I've seen people store this shit in Google Drive and be fine.
It's insane, yeah. Can and will are two completely different things.
Yes, that's very true. I wouldn't do it myself, but I've seen it many, many times.
It's made me nervous on campaigns, people storing the shit in Drive, but
And RoboForm is exactly like Holly said, is what I use for PBNs. However, they did hack the text file for RoboForm like 3 years ago.
Fuck. That's not good. Sursuit Warriors asking, he wants to rank the agency for web design in different cities to get some clients. Is low difficulty keywords still profitable?
Yes.
That's more of like a quality, like I can rank shit. I wouldn't try to make money by ranking for different cities personally.
I mean, if you're going to go that route, you've got to do a large number of cities. We call it the shotgun method, and you're just scattering everything.
Now you're talking about what Clint was talking about with a lot of pages that are templates, and you're spinning and adding local data into each page, because that's the only time I've seen it actually ever make sense to rank for city keywords in this industry.
Kitty C words are good, though.
Kitty C words.
So, wait a minute. You guys realise you're going to take one every year now. Yeah, I'm not taking one every year. So
it's every 2 years, right?
Is it 2 years over there? I don't.
It depends on which one you get, but yeah, I think it's 2 years.
Fuck that shit. So OSI is saying, I'm mostly talking in a health niche, but I've noticed at work, like main article, what is X condition? Second article, how much does X cost, etc. I'm still waiting on a beta test to be over. But I'm not sure if that was a long content question.
Yeah, it is. I think what he's seeing is someone doing a very good job of creating supporting topic articles.
Yeah, that's I would say that's probably a nice cluster-based strategy right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. They've been watching the show.
And that's the way to go. And then there was a statement about I have a ranking first position for a search term of 5,400 searches in London, which has very strong buying intent, but not really seeing anything near the traffic I expected. And that's very, very common.
Yeah. Expand the keyword list for that particular article.
Yeah, that's the best advice. You want to be don't even be worrying about an individual keyword. You might be seeing it there. Go look into find out where you're actually displaying for that keyword in Search Console, and like you're probably going to see something that's really freaking low, even though you're seeing it up towards 1. And make sure like you're not logged in. Like because there's a lot of different levels in this.
Different browser, different proxy.
Many reasons why you're seeing that there when you're not really showing there for people and things like that. So get away from tracking individual keywords to tracking traffic in large scale lexicons. It's where the money is.
Craig Mullins has just literally said everything's getting hacked lately.
I know the feeling, Craig.
That his entire medical record was breached with all identity data.
Sorry. I did that.
Yeah. We won't disclose to the public what's on there.
That would be fantastic. Thank you. Diet Coke. Yeah, thank you. No, I'm fantastic. Thank you.
Yes, exactly. It's a good point, Clint. That's a good one to end on there too for somebody who's learning. You always want to know that conversion personally before you go and start optimizing, and the volume at least, depending on if it's a informational intent or commercial or whatnot. So data is awesome. Like whenever you can collect data, get the data.
Yeah, can't emphasize.
I mean, that's all that Google does. They're a data collection company. So
there's also one other question from OSI. He's starting a side project, a sort of mass page site for service in order to rank for city and keyword. Do you suggest a plugin to create mass pages, or do you create these manually based in keyword research? You guys have a plugin, do you not, for this?
We build a bunch, but I don't know if we're selling it. We're not.
Yeah,
I got stuff I recommend. Jump in minionettraining.com, honestly, if that's the question.
Do that.
Minionettraining.com. Check that out, and it's free, so probably worth going.
There's a couple things that you could use, and if you have a question, jump in there and then just ask, dude. Ping me.
Last one for today. Does cold calling still work? How is the best way to get clients for a small guy starting out? Thanks for your info. It's appreciated. So what would you advise? Does cold calling even work at all these days? I don't even know. I know businesses that don't answer the phone. Like, literally do not answer the fucking
like
phone.
Like me, I don't answer it. Yeah.
I just was talking to someone that was talking about a 5% conversion rate to contract on cold calls.
Yeah.
5% is not bad.
I would say it works, but most people aren't going to do it to the scale that you need to. So in that case, it's not going to work.
That's with AI software involved.
The best way is to put yourself out there at local events and let everyone know what you do. That followed up with, if you're getting traffic to your site, followed up with retargeting, followed up with everything, all of the above. You've just got to be, omnipresent in a sense.
Jordan Pierce uses extended car warranty call blasts for cold calling.
I don't know what that is, dude.
It's probably a call service, yeah.
And would you, ignoring CTR, would you choose SMM panels to drive YouTube views or your own methods? My own method.
I've done it and I still do it. Yeah. So you taught me what SMM panels were. I'd like to know what services you're talking about. So if you want to hit me up on Skype, it's Michael_Pierce1. Maybe I can give you an opinion on which ones you're talking about, but I don't know who you're
What's that?
about.
Oh, napkin? Okay, cool. Thank you very much.
But Jordan keeps spamming his house with 1 million phone calls a day. I can imagine. But yeah, got to do what you've got to do. But on that note, guys, we are out of time for this week. But do check minionettraining.com for your questions.
Yeah, there's some older videos in there, but I mean, they're still 200% relevant. So, in Mininet training,
this shit it's been for a long time.
Yep.
And also check out nfgseo.com/7. These guys are on every Thursday. Do you guys come on? How often a week do you get on there?
Yeah, if you want to just search and like and subscribe shit like that to the channel, NFG SEO, that would get you going. Every Thursday we try and do like more of a philosophical stance. We'll probably expand out from there relatively soon. But yeah, it's how to deal with all the shit that we deal with.
Yeah.
I keep thinking someone else is you, dude. And I keep trying to bring you on, and you're not there, Craig. It's fucking hilarious, bro.
Oh, the other Craig with the cartoon picture?
Dude.
Yeah.
Man, I'll come back. I'll come back this week. And in fact, it depends what time
keeps popping up. Thanks, Clint.
But yeah, thank you, Clint. It's always a pleasure. But on that note, guys, we will catch you next week, same time. Check out Odys for £100 bonus below. The link is below. And make sure you do like and subscribe to this channel as well, guys. And we'll catch you next week.
Bye-bye. Thank you. See you, Holly.